Hi, my name is Bob Hill. I'm the president of the Church of Scientology, Mission of Riverdale at 308 Broadview Avenue in Toronto. This is our Sunday service, and the number is 23 during the coronavirus pandemic. The topic of today's service is using observation to improve relationships. I'm sure that's something everyone can use. Scientology is a practical religion. It teaches a person how to know. That's what the word means, knowing how to know. During the COVID-19 pandemic, with the use of masks and physical distancing, it can sometimes be harder to observe, understand, and predict human behavior. This can lead to spiritual isolation and sadness. I'm going to give you some tools today to help with that. All right? Great. Today's sermon is based on information from the Scientology Handbook, Chapter 4, The Emotional Tone Scale, by L. Ron Hubbard, who explains the tone scale, a vital tool for any aspect of living involving one's fellows, is a scale which shows the successive emotional tones a person can experience. By tone is meant the momentary or continuing emotional state of a person. You got it? Great. Emotions such as fear, anger, enthusiasm, and others which people are experiencing are shown on this graduated scale. Skillful use of the scale enables one to both predict and understand human behavior in all its manifestations. Graduated is something arranged in regular steps, and a scale describes the whole series of steps. An example would be a music scale, which can be followed up or down, and the notes change in regular patterns. The emotional tone scale is similar. People can move up or down the scale, showing different feelings and behaviors. An example of this would be a child trying to get something, let's say a loonie, from its parents. At first he is happy. He simply wants a loonie. If refused, he then explains why he wants it. If he fails to get it and did not want it badly, he becomes bored and goes away. But if he wants it badly, he gets antagonistic about it. Then he will become angry. Then, that failing, he goes into grief. And if he is still refused, he finally sinks into apathy and says, I don't want it anyways. Have you ever seen someone go down the scale in this way? Or up the scale getting good news? Something to remember is objects or animals or people which assist survival, and as those things which assist survival become inaccessible to the individual, it brings him down the tone scale. Objects, animals, or people which threaten survival as they approach the individual bring him also down the tone scale. How can you use knowledge of the emotional tone scale to improve relationships? It starts with observing the obvious. Something that is obvious is easily seen or understood, not to be doubted. It's plain. What can you observe about people in this time of masks and 6 feet distance? One can observe a person's eyes and body language. This is a tool you can use. Apathy is an emotion near death. It's the feeling of what's the use? It's lack of interest and lack of feeling. At apathy, he will give the appearance of looking fixedly for minutes on end at a particular object. The only thing is, he doesn't see it. He isn't aware of the object at all. If you dropped a bag over his head, the focus of his eyes would probably remain the same. In the tone of grief, moving up to grief, the person does look downcast. A person in chronic grief tends to focus his eyes down in the direction of the floor a good bit of the time. Fear. At fear itself, the very obvious characteristic is that the person can't look at you. People are too dangerous to look at. He's supposedly talking to you, but he's looking over in left field. Then he glances at your feet briefly, then over your head. You get the impression planes may be passing over the way he's looking over his head, but now he's looking back over his shoulder. Flick, flick, flick. In short, he'll look anywhere but at you. Now we get the guy in anger. Then in the lower band of anger, he will look away from you. Deliberately, he'll look away from you. It's an overt, openly done communication break. He will look away from you and it's overtly done. A little further up the line and he'll look directly at you, all right, but not very pleasantly. He wants to locate you as a target. Boredom. You get the eyes wandering around again, but not frantically, not very wildly, not out of control as in fear. He'll include you among the things he looks at. Strong interest and cheerful. When someone is happy, you can see smiling lines in the corners around their eyes, and people will pleasantly look at you. They'll be willing to talk to you and listen. Unless a person talks openly and listens receptively, he cannot be considered very high on the tone scale. In your relationships, observing and understanding the tone level of the person you are talking to can help you reach them. I'm going to tell you more about that after I've read out the creed. All right? So we're going to do the creed of the Church of Scientology now. We of the Church believe that all men of whatever race, color, or creed were created with equal rights. That all men have inalienable rights to their own religious practices and their performance. That all men have inalienable rights to their own lives. That all men have inalienable rights to their sanity. That all men have inalienable rights to their own defense. That all men have inalienable rights to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own organizations, churches, and governments. That all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter or write upon the opinions of others. That all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind. That the souls of men have the rights of men. That the study of the mind and the healing of mentally caused ills should not be alienated from religion or condoned in non-religious fields, and that no agency less than God has the power to suspend or set aside these rights overtly or covertly. And we of the Church believe that man is basically good, that he is seeking to survive, that his survival depends upon himself and upon his fellows, and his attainment of brotherhood with the universe. And we of the Church believe that the laws of God forbid man to destroy his own kind, to destroy the sanity of another, to destroy or enslave another's soul, to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group. And we of the Church believe that the spirit can be saved, and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body. We'll carry on with the sermon now. How can you use knowledge of the emotional tone scale to improve relationships? First thing is to understand it. An individual best responds to his own tone band and can be lifted only about 0.5 point on the tone scale by conversation. For example, you want to talk to someone and you observe they are looking downward. Their eyes are downcast. If you give them a cheerful hello, chances are they won't respond. But a sad comment such as, "Too bad about the rain, eh?" may get through. Then talk a little fearful, then a little angry, and see if you can bring them up the scale. Another example, a child is bored. Talk to them about something they are looking at in a bored way. See if they respond. Start with taking the time to really observe. See if you can spot apathy, grief, fear, anger, and cheerful interest in others around you. In your environment, try to match the emotional tones to get through to people as needed, and use lots of communication to help raise others on the tone scale. During this pandemic, there may be a lot of isolated, lonely individuals that just need some real communication to brighten up their day. You can do that, all right? Great. By doing this, you can improve relationships. There you go. Now I will read to you the prayer for total freedom. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe, and may others also reach this understanding which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, trapped, or attacked. We pray that human rights will be preserved so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want, freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like, and freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. There you go. So that's today's sermon. In ending, I'll just say this to you. If you find yourself sad and out of communication with your fellows during the pandemic, try taking the time to observe and communicate and improve your life. The Scientology handbook and booklets and videos with details on how to stay well are also available online. Join us next Sunday for more ways to improve life. Thank you.